Hey everyone, I was trying to make it horizontal and somehow I couldn't get it right. So I don't know. I always have a hard time with that because it defaults to vertical for the live. So as soon as I went to the settings and I put horizontal, then on the next button, it wouldn't let me go to the next level, so to the next setting. So I couldn't do it this time. I don't know. I have to research a little bit more, but I'll try to do just the horizontal this time. Sorry about that. I don't know if this format is good, but here's my teapot. I'm gonna zoom in here. This is part one. I'm hoping to do a series because it takes a little time. And I hope the lighting is okay. So this is the teapot I threw yesterday and I trimmed. This is it was close to 3 pounds of Laguna Frost porcelain. And I like this round shape. It's a little hard to throw this for me with the frost because frost tends to get wobbly, and as you know, frost is kind of a finicky clay, but I was able to do it. And I've done a few, not a whole lot of teapots using porcelain. I like to use other easier ones like stoneware or even the porcelain 365 is a little easier, but I was able to do it, and I'm hoping that after I assemble this one, I'll be able to, I have another 3 pounds of clay here that I can do a demo on how I throw this one, like the same similar shape to this one. So here's the spouts that I made also. I try to make everything, the lids, and I throw more than what I need. So in this case, I had 3. I threw 3 spouts. So this is basically the shape that I throw the spouts. And then I cut it like this. I cut it on an angle. So I made 3. This one I didn't like as much because I think I made it on the angle too inclined, so that I think it would look better on a more elongated shape. So maybe I'll save that for another one. That's one spout that I made. And this one I just haven't cut it. I just wanted to show you what it looks like before this shape, and then I cut it on an angle. And then what I do is I just wet it a little bit, as I might wet it now. Here's my sponge, so it doesn't dry as quick. And then I just kind of make, I hold it with my hand like this, and I push it a little bit so it forms almost like a little bit of a cup right here. And you try to make it, depending on the cut that you make, to fit on your profile of your teapot. So this one I think was the one that I liked the best, like this. And what I'm gonna try to do is, I'll show you. Then I'm gonna score, and at first I put the holes in, but what I try to do is put something flat on top of the teapot so that it aligns with the spout. That seems to work and pour really well. They say you should always have it aim for where the water level, the highest water level that could be, would be filled all the way to the top here. So I always go just a little below, or where it touches it. So it would be right here. So, and I already marked, where around, you know, the edge of the spout's gonna be, just using a pencil. And then hopefully it's a little bit stiffer now because I did that last night. So hopefully I can just, once you add a little water, it gets a little softer. It's not perfect, you know, it's not perfect straight. I try to clean up a little bit more, but once I score, it tends to flare out a little bit more. So what I'm gonna do next is, so here's the, I don't know if you can see where I drew the line around where the spout's gonna be. And using this tool here to make the holes for where the water comes out. You always leave a little bit, like maybe a quarter of an inch all around, so that you don't do the holes in this area, because it's gonna be the area where I'm gonna score and use this lip. And so I'll start here in the middle. And this is not the whole maker that I like. This tool is not, I couldn't find the other one. I have another one that is better. This one, it's on an angle, so it makes the holes, you know, because this is on an angle, the hole gets a little bigger here, but a little smaller behind. So maybe I'll go a little bigger, like that. And then another one here. Try to space them the same. And misplace my tools. And sorry about the noise. They're building a house right behind our house here, and it gets pretty noisy at times. It's amazing how fast they build these houses nowadays. They pour the concrete one day for the foundation, and they already have the whole first floor almost done. I was impressed. I like my other hole tool a lot better, that does have like a cylinder. And the clay is still, it's not quite leather hard yet, so it's still a little soft. And then I can clean that up a little. And I like to clean it now before I put the spout in place. Just on these raised areas here. I don't know if you can see okay what I'm doing. It's a little dark here today because it's kind of overcast. Hopefully the sun will come out. I am on the back of my house, so it's more shaded here. The sun is on the front, so. So not, you know, too all equally spaced or anything like that, as long as it's functional, right? This is just so that if people use loose leaf tea, it just catches the leaves a little bit so it doesn't come out. It's like a little strainer, kind of like a built-in strainer. Try to put my hands over, see. I think if it was a little drier, you wouldn't have left like some little pieces in there, but it's still a little bit on the wet side. So, and I also made um, two lids that I haven't trimmed yet. Now the lids for the teapot, I make it with a longer piece that goes inside. I don't know what that's called. Well, if there is a name for that, and I'll show you in a little bit. And the reason why I do that is so that it catches when you're pouring the water, it catches the lid so it doesn't fall off. And I learned all these tricks about teapots from Fong Choo. I had a great workshop with him way back, like, oh, this has been, I think it was like in 2016 maybe. I took a workshop with him. You guys should check him out. Fong Choo is, I'll put his name on my description, is Fong, Fong Choo, I think is CHOO or something like that. But he is the teapot man. He is great. He's a professor, I believe, in Kentucky. And he offered great in-person workshops. And I took it and I learned a whole lot of teapot tricks with him. A lot of these that I use, he makes the rounded shape teapots and I love this shape. And a lot of these tips that I give are from him, because that's where I learned to make my teapots, from the main guy. He is the teapot person. He does beautiful, beautiful teapots. So if you ever get a chance, look him up and see he's offering a lot of workshops. There's always something going on. He has some exhibitions in museums. Teapots are really nice. And he does his own caning for the handle. He also did a demo on that, and that is a lot of work. I've never tried that, to make the handle out of cane. I think it's called caning, where those fibers you have to wet and bend, and I don't know if they're bamboo fibers, but he showed us all how to do it. So here I'm just wetting a little more inside to see if it's gonna flex a little more before I put it. Before I attach. So let's see. Always give it a little twist to make sure that it really attaches well. The last thing you want is to have these you know, crack the joints. So I'm just pushing, make sure I have a good joint here. And I go all around the joint doing this, pushing it. That's another reason why I try to do this before it gets too dry, before leather hard, because with porcelain, I noticed that that is the best time to attach things before it gets dry. Same thing with my mugs. I try to trim them before leather hard. That's just the sleep being squeezed out, which is fine. Trying to catch it all around the rim. Now I use these rubber tip tools. They're really nice to kind of compress on the joint. But first I'm just doing it with using my fingers, and then I'll use that. And I always like to do a little twist to really make sure that it has a good attachment there. So you see how it's in line with this, the tip of the spout. So I'm gonna put it in here. I think it's best. It's kind of like an odd shape too, because usually I try to support on the back, and this one, because my opening here is kind of small, so I can't fit my whole hand in there. Trying to push it against it, it's kind of tricky. I think it's getting there. I'm just rounding the seam here. Oops. I'm doing that mostly just to have a nice gentle curve on the joint. See if I can do it here too. And sorry about being on the vertical format. I'm gonna do a little more investigation about that and see how I can get around that problem, because I did it last time, so but somehow it did not want to work for me today. And I think it's, you can see better, I don't know. And I don't know why it defaults to the vertical. I don't know if there is a way I can always make it so that it's horizontal. I think with the vertical one, I have to constantly look at my camera to see if I am if I'm on focus, because the area is smaller for me to show than the horizontal one. So I spent some time with this because it is important. This is the main function of the teapot would be the spout. So you want to do, spend some time making sure that it's going to have a nice joint. So with porcelain, every now and then you get these little black specks, and I think it's iron. And I try to, if I can see it, I'll catch it and remove it, see? Because if you don't, I mean, it's hard to catch all of them, but every now and then you see little black spots there, and you try to remove it because that will show through. That will show through your glaze. But all porcelains that I've used have that. I mean, it's pretty white, but it does have these little specks sometimes. Not a lot, but if you see it, you catch it and you just take it out. Okay. It's looking longer on the camera for some reason. It's not, when I look at it, it's not that long, but when I look at the camera, it looks like a real long spout. I don't know. The nice thing about it is once it's there, I can still trim this a little bit if I wanted to. But I think it's okay. Now, I have the handle and I have two lids. So this is what I was talking about. You make this part of your lid long so that when it goes in, it catches, so the lid doesn't fall out. It will catch it in here. But, so I made two. This one, let me see if it's gonna fit. This one is a little tight, like right here. Let me see the other one. Nice thing about lids, I don't make a whole lot of things with lids, so I don't have a whole lot of experience making lids, but I make more than one. See, this one is a better fit, but let's see, still needs to trim. And I'm gonna put something here on the lid, so what I'm gonna do is trim this whole thing here off. And I might, because I'm gonna make another teapot, so I might save this, but usually you want to make the teapot first and then you measure and you make the lid, so not the other way around. So we'll see. Sometimes I get lucky and it works out, but and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to. Some people trim right on the teapot, but I don't know if I'll be able to trim right here. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just, because this seems to be a real good fit. So I think I'm gonna move the teapot and try to trim a little bit. And I don't have those, what are those called? The Griffin. I use the old school method of using these lugs for clay lugs, I guess, for trimming. And the reason why I haven't bought one of those, I know they work really well, but because my pieces I trim before they get to leather hard stage, I always think that may not work for me, just because they are on the little soft side. So I always think that would make like some marks, but I have seen people use it and they swear that is the greatest thing. So I don't know. I guess it's, if you don't have it, you don't miss it. Let's see if it is centered. And I'm going for the dome shape. There's a whole lot of clay here. I might try to trim first with a knife, just because I think it's just too much in here. And it's centered. See if I can cut. Don't know where my knife is, but I'm just gonna try cutting some of this excess right here. So I threw these off the hump, and I wanted to give plenty of room to trim, but I think that's a bit much. Just like the other one, I think I left a lot of clay. So there's a lot of trimming. I'm just trying to remove some. Almost looks like a mushroom. But I haven't decided yet what I'm gonna put it here on on the lid if it's gonna be a bird. Sometimes I've done one that has like a, almost like a bud from a flower would be the knob. This is that tool that I showed on my previous video. That tool that I made I hacked the blade from Diamond Core Tools just because I only do that for this clay here because it tends to grab your tools and is not a friendly clay. And then I switch to my other one, but just to take sometimes just to take the excess, that's what I use. And then I move on to my other one, to this one here. It's from Diamond Core. They make the best trimming tools and carving tools and trimming tools. They're great. I do a lot of the relief carving, as you saw in the picture of these teapots. This teapot that I had on the picture is long gone, but I wanted to have a picture of one that I already finished. And that was all relief carved, the whole teapot. All the leaves you see and the birds I sculpted and then I added almost like a sprig, but then the rest I carve because I like to create layers. You see how if it was a little drier, it works better, like a leather hard for you to trim, but those are the downside of me doing the trimming when it's a little wet. Sometimes it sticks, but I've gotten used to doing it that way. It might still be a little thick, maybe not. So I wet it because I want it real smooth. Then I use my rib. Oh, that's too big. So I was trying to finish a bag of Laguna Frost that I have. That's why I'm making this whole batch is all Laguna Frost that I'm using. I made about 8 mugs. I put handles yesterday, so I ended up making 8. And then I'm gonna make 2 teapots. I made 2 large bowls. So I'm just trying to finish the bag before I move on to stoneware. So the next I'm gonna work is gonna be Dark Star. The clay is from Kentucky Mud Works. I love that clay, is the speckled one. And then I also bought a bag of White Bear, which is similar to porcelain. It's white and it throws really well. It's very smooth. So I'll be using that, but I like to use something first before I move on to another clay, especially because porcelain, I have to wash everything so it doesn't get contamination from other clays. Like I used also the brown speckle brown clay. So I clean everything. Make sure all my bats are clean. I think somebody asked me that the other day, is how I keep everything from not contaminating your porcelain, but I don't have two wheels. I know some people do that. They have one wheel for white clay and porcelain and one for the darker ones. I don't have that. So my way around is just cleaning really well. Clean all the tools, your bats, your wheel, which I clean every day. I clean my wheel every day. Okay. I think that's good. So let's see how this works out. So this is part one. The second part, I'm gonna show you how I decorate. So I'm gonna show you how I carve and I add some stuff. Like I said, I'm still not sure if I'm gonna be adding birds or it's gonna be like a flower theme. Get my teapot back. I got a little dent mark in here. I hate when that happens. I don't know how I did this. Probably when I put it there on the shelf, it must have hit the cup. Oh well. I can put something over, or I'll smooth it out later. Anyways, I think this one is a good fit, except that this part got a little bit out of roundness. But yeah, I learned with Fong Choo, I learned this also about making this much longer than your usual lid. This is pretty dry. So that's how it's going to be. And then I'm gonna add later on today, once I sculpt whatever is gonna go in here. And that would be part of the other videos, how I'm gonna decorate. Let's see, the handle. I pulled this handle yesterday, but I didn't even look and see if it is actually something that I like on this teapot or not. It may not be big enough. Maybe it is. Let me wet it a little. I had it in plastic so it wouldn't dry too much. I always like to see if it looks proportional to the teapot. I need to turn this just a little bit. It might be a little smaller than I wanted, because I like to make it so it comes up. It's better for you to hold it and pour. So let me show you guys. What do you guys think? anybody's watching me. I think I might make another one. I only made one yesterday. I usually make more just to try different ones and see. I think it's a little small for the size of the teapot. I don't know. So I may not attach it right now. But this is basically, I was just assembling, and yeah, I think I'm gonna make more handles before I decide. Can you guys, oh, thank you. Thank you, Maddie. Sometimes I can't, because I'm still testing this out, looking at my, at the chats. And sometimes when I don't see anything, I think that I'm just talking here by myself. Miss Megan. Oh, you think it's pretty, this one? Thank you for your feedback. I think it's just that sometimes I like to make different ones and try it. It's just like trying like an outfit or something. You try more than one and then you see which one looks the best. Just like the spout, you know, I made 3 and this one I just made 1. It might be just a matter of making some more and just trying it. I'm gonna keep these on a plastic just in case I go back to it. The one I had it on the picture, I don't know if you were able to see the picture on the teapot on the thumbnail that I had for this video. I had it so that it makes like a loop in here. I like that too, and I didn't do it on this one. So I might try that. I might just try different things and before I really decide. I don't know, I'm a little picky. I am going to, I don't know if you guys want to hang out and see how I throw. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I'm going to cover this one. Again, I am going to have other parts for this video later on to show how I decorate. So I usually cover. I don't know where my spray bottle went. Let's see. Yeah, I like to spray a little bit of water and then cover, but I'm just gonna cover for now. And I am gonna try to throw another one for you guys to see. And hopefully it's gonna work out. Put my mat here. Trying many and deciding later. Yeah, that's what I usually do. I try to make like 2 or 3 at least, and then deciding. Let me just move this a little bit down. So this piece is it's gotten a little harder from yesterday, the clay, and I'm gonna weigh it. I think it's more than 3 pounds. Let me see. I have my scale right here. I want to see first what it weighs. But it was already wedged before, but sometimes if you leave it overnight, it becomes a little harder again. You just have to kind of hit it and it gets a little softer again. So this one is 2 pounds and 10 ounces, which is, that would be okay. I try to do this. I'm not good with a lot of clay because of the problems I have on my hand, on my wrist, and I've had surgery on this hand here too, on my thumb. So I try to avoid throwing something that is too big. Every now and then I have the urge of throwing something big. But I think it puts a lot of strain on my hands, on my wrists. This is the same frost by Laguna Frost Porcelain. So I'm gonna attempt again to do a round shape. And I'll show you how I do the gallery also for my teapot, which can be for a little jar. On the teapot, because of the shape, the round shape, I had to do it a little bit different, the gallery, than I usually do on my little jars. So I usually try to throw and leave the rim just thick enough that you can push to make the gallery. On this one, I turned the top of it, I turned it inward to form the gallery. So I'll show you that, and maybe someday I'll show the other way that I do it. And this clay shrinks a lot. Can't remember now the percentage. I think it's even more than what they say on their information. Because I think once I measured, I don't know if they say 14 or 15, something like that, but I thought it was more. So one day I did a test and I measured before and after, and it was something like more like 20% or 19, something like that. It was a lot more. So I like to leave my bottoms a little thicker so I can do, trim the foot. I also like to glaze the foot underneath the foot, you know what I mean, the bottom. I like to glaze that area, so you have to leave some room there. So it's kind of like maybe not quite ½ inch, but maybe 3/8 of an inch. So if you guys didn't catch my explanation the other days on my other live videos, I do my first pull using this hand, my left hand. I pull from the bottom and I squeeze, and then with this hand I support the rim with this pinky. That's how I usually do my first pull. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Uh, Porcelain can be kind of unpredictable. You can be throwing something. That's why I usually like to keep this porcelain for smaller pieces, usually my mugs. Because I've had this collapse on me for bigger pieces. So I have a little bubble here. Let me see. I try to take the bubble that is right there on the wall, on the outer. Let me see where it is. Let me see. Where's my... It's frustrating, isn't it, when you have air bubbles when you clay. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is make this part, color it in so it's a little smaller. But it's still enough for me to put my hands inside. Starting to get a little wobbly. I'm leaving enough clay also on the bottom to support. Okay. always trying to remove this slip. Not quite a sphere yet. It's getting there. Let me wet my hand. If I don't wet my hand, it grabs. Right now I'm just trying to shape it. So now I'm gonna use the two ribs. And for that, I clean my hands a little bit because it gives me a better grip on the ribs, because sometimes they stick right into your clay if you don't grab them that well. So I'm just cleaning that a little bit so I can grab it a little better. Try with this first inside. I have to wet my hands. Okay. See all the amount of slip that comes out. As soon as you remove that, your clay stiffens up and you can continue to work on it. But if you don't do that, that's when it starts to collapse. And sometimes, as you saw, I don't know if you saw the bowl that I threw, the larger bowl with this clay, but sometimes you have to resort to using a torch. There's still another air bubble in there I need to take care of. Right there. Okay. So now for the, let me clean the bottom one more time. Don't want too much water in there. It's just a little bit now, so just take care of that now. So I'm pretty happy with the shape right now. So now I'm going to try to work on this part, which is a little soft. I'm trying to wet this part without having the whole water running through on the pot on the outside, so I'm being careful. So unfortunately I have to wet at least this part here so I can put my finger inside. I just don't want wet, you know, the water running everywhere again. That's why I'm being so cautious here. I think I'm gonna try closing just a little more. Are there any adaptive tools available for wheel throwing pottery that are long and strapped to your forearms that might help you throw with larger pieces? Yeah, they actually have something. I never tried, but I've seen it. It's kind of like a jig that you can adapt on your wheel. I've seen it, I just never used it. Maybe I'm not there yet. Maybe in the future I might have to. Because as you know, arthritis is not something that really goes away. Right now I just kind of tough it out. Okay, so I did get a little bit of water in there again. Get that water out. So I'm happy with the way I have it here so far. I am gonna use my torch just to make it a little drier. This is the torch I use right here. And you see it full of clay here. That's why, because I always use my dirty hands. So what I used yesterday was a tool. Let me try to find my tools that I did the indent for the gallery. Oh, it was this right here. Any wooden tool, something like this that has a little, the width that you want to indent for the gallery would work. Just adding a little bit of clay. I mean, a little bit of water. And let's see. The tricky part is that I have to put water on my finger in order for this to work. Let's see. I'm pretty much trying to bend this part. Just hope I didn't dry it too much on the rim. I might have dried it too much. There you go. Start going now. Now I'm switching to my rib. So what happens is that now this part that is up here on the rim of that gallery becomes thicker inside because it becomes like this to a point. And I used that to form that little rim that you saw on the other teapot that I was doing the assembly today. So something like this. And then I can push this down further down. So you push it depending on how deep you want your gallery to be. And you can always adjust it later. So like this circle here, if it's not even, I can always go with my needle tool and trim around it. It's a little uneven, but that's okay. I can fix it later. Just wanted to show how I do this part here. By adding a little. So later on, let me show to you now what I'm gonna do. What I did is I came with a carving tool or a trimming tool like this, and I carved it a little bit in here. To create this. It's almost like a foot, but it's on the top, it's on the rim. So it's just too wet right now, but I'll do that later. Just wanted to show you how that's actually done. And this one, I think one part is lower than the other. So what happened when I used the torch, I think I went a little bit over on the rim and it dried a little bit too quickly, but that's okay. It worked. So I left a whole lot of clay here, which I'm gonna remove it later. Right now I'm just gonna let it sit here and let it dry just a little bit before I take it off the bat. But before I take it off the bat, I usually try to remove a lot of these excess clay just to get a little lighter. But for now, I'm just gonna leave it here just for a few more minutes. But it worked, guys, even though under pressure. So I hope you enjoyed, and keep on the lookout for part 2 that I'm gonna do a whole lot of carving, adding, birds and leaves and stuff like that. So I appreciate you hanging around with me, and I'll see you next time, hopefully soon. Bye-bye.